So Mitch mentioned it already this morning. There is energy in Harvard Square this weekend that was not there last weekend, and certainly not the weekend before. Someone just was like, woohoo, students. Returning students, incoming students. It's almost a physical sensation right now when you walk through the square. And please don't try to find a parking place for basically the next few days, right? And that's absolutely true there at Harvard, at all the other schools in the area, higher education, elementary education, all of the schools. I think it's also true of us. Whether you work in academia or not, there's this sense in the fall when the air gets cooler and the days get shorter and we're coming out of the more relaxed schedule of summer that we're gearing back up. This is our last Sunday of only one service. Next Sunday we'll return to worship at 9 and 11, and in the coming weeks really get back to our program year schedule. We're gearing back up, and it's wonderful. We have a lot coming this coming year, and it already makes me wistful for that little island in the fog where time kind of slowed down, or felt like it slowed down, and that was a place of relax and restoration. And so this morning, I want to share with you, as well as with myself, a spiritual practice that I find helps maintain that expansive sense of time, even in the midst of busyness. And that's the practice of Sabbath, or Shabbat, as it's known by our Jewish siblings. The origins of Sabbath are what Grace read in the book of Genesis this morning. On the sixth day, God finished the work that God had done and rested on the seventh day. God stopped working, stopped creating, and just enjoyed creation. It must have been shiny with newness and love and energy. All that God had poured into it, God rested. That is the basis of Sabbath. And so in the Jewish tradition, it's one of the 10 Commandments to take Sabbath, to honor the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And in the Jewish tradition, from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday is Shabbat. And during that time, no work is done. It's a time to rest. It's a time to let things be. I notice that in Genesis, it doesn't say on the sixth day when God finished all the work that needed to be done. It just says when God finished the work that God had done. Sabbath is a time when we stop working. It's not that there isn't still work to do. It's not that the world isn't still a mess, but for 24 hours, for our Sabbath time, we trust God to be in charge of it. And we rest. And we enjoy God, and we enjoy what we can of God's world. My friends who are practicing Jews who keep Shabbat tell me that it is the glory of their week, that it holds them together. And yes, the other 6 days are pretty full, and Sabbath is a blessing. They're also supported by the rest of their community in taking that Sabbath time. For those of us who aren't in the Jewish tradition, for us Protestants, it's a little trickier to celebrate Sabbath. And so how do we make that part of our lives when our lives don't necessarily make that 24-hour period from Friday night to Saturday night work? Well, first of all, I think we need to think about what is Sabbath about and what are the guidelines that we use for what we do on Sabbath. Those of you who have grandparents who observed Sunday restrictions, no dancing, no playing cards, no buying liquor on Sundays, with all due respect to that, that is not what Shabbat, Sabbath, is about. It is about not doing anything to improve on the world. That phrase isn't mine. I don't remember where I got it from. Or another way that I think of it is on Sabbath, I try not to do anything that I'm doing to accomplish something. Sabbath is not about accomplishing Sabbath is about being a human being, not a human doing, right? And so that makes me thoughtful about what I might do in a Sabbath time. I'll likely get outside in nature, maybe go for a walk, maybe walk the dog in a leisurely kind of way. I might go for a bike ride, but not a bike ride that's part of a training regimen, right? A bike ride to be out and enjoy the world around me. A mindful bike ride. I'm always mindful of the traffic, but mindful of everything else, right? On Sabbath, I might gather flowers from my garden for the table, or I might gather cherry tomatoes out of the garden for a salad, but I'm not going to weed the garden, right? On Sabbath, I'll have friends for dinner. Having friends for dinner during Sabbath is wonderful, but I'm not going to make a 12-course meal. We might order out, or it'll be potluck. It'll be something simple, because on Sabbath, when I have my friends over, I am there for us to enjoy each other's company and to enjoy God among us, right? I'll often read, and it will be a novel. It won't be preparation for next week's sermon, right? Tend to stay away from the news. I don't pick my phone up much. Stay away from social media. My rules for Sabbath probably don't pass strict Jewish guidelines, but they help me get into a different kind of space. This is time to enjoy God and to let go of my need to make the world a better place, right? For a little while. Now, my brain doesn't always cooperate. My body may not be doing Sabbath work, but the strategic part of my brain is often still churning. So one of the other practices I do on Sabbath is I don't make to-do lists, even if I come up with a great thing that needs to be done, right? I try to use my brain's busyness as a call to prayer. And so rather than write down, make sure you put this in the newsletter, right? I'll say, God, bless our newsletter creation this week, and I'll trust that good idea will come back to me later, right? When I remember someone in need, I will pray for them on the Sabbath. I use that as a call to prayer. So you get the idea. Something that sets my busyness aside and lets me be, and that is aware, especially aware, of God and God's world and my place in it. That is what Sabbath is about. Now, I will be honest, I don't take a 24-hour Sabbath. I said last week that I'm bad at taking Sabbath. I've done it off and on through the years. But when we do Sabbath, and Mitch and I do Sabbath together, it's good to have someone to hold you accountable or to remind you that you really said you'd do this. This is how it works for us. I'm just going to give you this as an example of how we structure this so you can figure out what works in your life. So as you all are probably aware, we take Mondays as our day off from work. Not the same thing as Sabbath, though they're related, right? What we do to make Sabbath happen is on Sunday evening, once Mitch comes home from his job as a chaplain at Leahy, and once we've completed church here and I've done stuff from the other work that I do in the afternoon, he'll come home, he'll catch up on email and chores while I'm making dinner, and then when we sit down to eat, we open that meal with a Sabbath prayer. We thank God for the coming Sabbath time. We thank God for the creation of the world around us, and we ask God to keep us especially aware of God and of our blessings in these days. If there are griefs that we have, and often there are, the world is full of grief, we'll lift those up as well and say, hold these for us, hold these with us. And then we don't spend the evening doing email, right? We don't spend the email catching up on news. We'll spend the evening reading, maybe watching something on TV. We don't eschew all screens, but we're careful how we use them. And we go to bed in Sabbath time, And we wake up the next morning still in Sabbath time. Monday morning, too, when we're taking Sabbath, we don't jump onto our phones to see what's happened in the world in the last few hours, right? Monday mornings are time for us to have coffee and breakfast and take the dog for a leisurely walk and chat with friends and just be until, I don't know, late morning, noon on a good day. And then we end our Sabbath, right? Then we say another Sabbath prayer. Thank you, God, for this Sabbath time. Bless us as we enter into the week. And the rest of Monday for us is errands and chores and all of the other things, right, that normally we would do, going to the gym, whatever, right? I love to structure it this way because there is something miraculous, I think, about going to bed and waking up in Sabbath. Even if it's not too many hours before bed and not too many hours after we wake up. The Jewish tradition has discovered this. It's just wonderful to be able to do that. It's not always possible. When my children were younger, my Sabbath time was while they were in school. It was pretty much from 9 o'clock to 2:30, right? Because I did not have the luxury of not doing any productive work after 2:30 or before 9 o'clock in the mornings, right? So it doesn't have to be overnight. It's wonderful if it can be. So I'm just suggesting that to you. So you get the idea, right? And my invitation to each of you is to spend some time thinking about how Sabbath can be part of your regular life. I will admit freely to you that we do not do this every week. We're doing good if we do it once a month. If we do it twice a month, it's amazing, right? And it's better than nothing. It's way better than nothing because we enter the rest of the week differently for having had that time apart, even if it's brief. And so consider how you might work into your day, into your week, into your month, into your year, maybe, something that lets time expand, right? The clock always goes in the same amount of time, but our sense of that time can shift. Think about how you can make space where you are particularly aware of God and God's presence, where you can practice trusting the world to God for a while, right? If you want help in figuring out how this might work for you, then I invite you to be in touch with me or with Mitch or to speak with someone else here. If you want someone who knows what your Sabbath practice is, because that will help you actually do it, you're welcome to let us know or let someone else know. You might pledge with someone else that you will take Sabbath your way and they'll take Sabbath their way, and you will share on holding that accountable. I'm sure that one of the things that is difficult for us who are not part of the Jewish tradition is we don't have that broad community support for taking Sabbath. We have to create that in our own ways. I know that when I take Sabbath, I am better at being God's person in the world. I know when I take Sabbath, I am more resilient, I'm more courageous, I'm more gracious, I'm more whole. I'm not perfect at any of those things ever, but a little more, right? So as I end, I want to share with you this epitaph that's on Raymond Carver's headstone. Raymond Carver, the author and poet. His headstone says this: "And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth." That is what Sabbath can make possible. For us to call ourselves beloved, to feel ourselves beloved on the earth, and to have the strength and the creativity and the love to know that all people on this earth are beloved, and work for a world where all know that they are beloved on this earth. May this be so. Amen.